Even if you say it wrong, that's really not how you say it. I have to watch a 15-second ad just so I can hear the word.
Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan.
No.
What? Hey everyone, I'm Alison.
I'm Bryce,
and we're Better Half Reviews. And today we're talking about the founders of Teotihuacan.
Depends on who you ask.
And this is by Board and Dice.
So, in the founders of this tea game, you are an architect and you're traveling around the city, building temples, other buildings, and also the pyramid in the center. And based on what you build and where you build it, you score points and you win the game. If you're me.
Yeah. Wait, didn't I win one time?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Whatever. So when it's your turn, you have a certain number of action discs each round, and those are just little discs that you can place out on the board. You can set up one or several of them to either take a building action or an influence action.
The main board is split up into 3 different sections. So the building actions are to build a building, which can give you resources. When you place that out onto your board, your player board, the resources go around it. On the empty, adjacently on the spaces around it. Then you have the temple pieces in the middle. These help you score points based on how you build your pyramid. And when you build a temple piece, you also get an objective. These can help you score points, or they can help you do more actions. They kind of just have a bunch of different things. And then finally, you could choose to build a pyramid piece. And so you take the pyramid piece, place it on your board, again within the reach of your architect, which we'll explain in a little bit. And that helps you score points at the end of the game.
And then the influence track on the bottom side of the board is again also split into the same 3 sections. So the first one will let you maybe refill some of your resources that you've used throughout the game. The second option is to maybe fulfill some of those goal objectives, which I think are called worship tiles.
I can't remember exactly.
But yeah, you have to complete the objective, so you go there to complete that. And then the last section helps you either gain some points and or switch out some of those worship tiles that you may not have use for.
So the different buildings and the different temples have different sizes. You have to put down as many action discs as the size of those buildings. So if the building is a 4 size, meaning it's 4 squares, you have to have 4 action discs on that spot to be able to do that action. However, you can sometimes spend resources to help you get extra strength, thank you. Or sometimes there's bonus tokens that allow you to get extra strength. So you don't have to use as many action discs.
Mm-hmm. And each spot can only have up to 4 action discs, including that bonus. So if there's 4 discs on there, you can no longer put discs on there, so you need to go to a different section. So this game is all about strategy and timing. And then with your architect, we've kind of talked about that, where he has different reach. So you have your square board, and you can build on it, but you can't just build anywhere. You can build on the half of the side where the architect is. So if he's on the right side of the board, you can build up to the right side of the board, including the pyramid area. So if you build a pyramid, it has to go in that section.
You can, however, cross the line.
Yes.
So if the right side of the board is here and the left side's here, I could put a piece that crosses into both sections, but it has to be touching somewhere on that right side of the board.
Correct.
And then at the end of your turn, the architect moves counterclockwise. So he'll move to the bottom of your board, and then in the next turn, you have to build on the bottom half of your board. Mm-hmm. So as the game progresses, the architect's moving around, and you can only build in certain sections at a time.
And depending on your player count, there's a different number of rounds. So this can play up to 1 to 4 players. If you're playing 2 or 4 players, you get to have 4 rounds. If you're playing 3 player, you only get to have 3 rounds. So less time around the board.
And the number of action discs also depends on the number of players.
And as you continue the game, you take 1 action disc away each round, so it gets tougher and tougher.
Well, not tougher, but you're more limited in what you can do.
Okay, yeah. So with this game, you have masks that you can cover up, you have pyramid tiles that you can put up in certain areas, and different formations you can do, all to try to get the most points possible, along with those worship tiles too.
So the bulk of your points are likely going to come from your city, and to score your city, it depends on where you build your temples and how you build up your pyramid.
So with your pyramid, you have different layers. You can have up to 3 layers. There's 9 and then 4.
4 and then 1.
And then 1. The bottom layer is a ×2 multiplier, and then the second and third layer are ×3 multipliers, and those match with your temples. So if it's on the right side of your board and you have it in the corner and you have a red pyramid tile and you have your red temple there, for each red temple, you can score it ×2. So it's like ×2, and I've got 3 reds in that section maybe, then I would get 6 points for that. But if you had it layered up another time for the ×3, you can multiply that again. And this is where it comes in, where Bryce was talking about like having stuff lay over on like the left and right side or top and bottom. If you layer it like that, you can score it multiple times, but it has to be in both sections, like with your scoring tile and your building tiles.
So if like a temple tile lays over 2 different sections and you have that same colored pyramid tile in your pyramid, then you can score it for that for both sections essentially. So you're kind of like multiplying your points even more.
So it's a lot of planning of like, okay, where are you going to put your red ones? Where are you going to put your green ones? Are you going to focus more on blue ones? Lots of planning in this.
And not only focusing on where you're going to put these tiles, but where is your architect and where is he going to be able to reach at that moment?
Exactly.
Because it's great that I can build a whole bunch of green, temple tiles because I have a bunch of green pyramid tiles. But if my architect's on the opposite side of the board from where all that is going on, then I can't really build it, or there's no point in building it.
Yep.
At that moment.
So that gives you a general idea about the game. So let's dive into what we thought about it. What do you want to start with? Pros or cons?
Let's go pros.
All right, let's go pros.
I'm feeling positive today.
Not yesterday? Maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So, pros. There's a lot of polyomino games out there, a lot of tile laying games. And I liked that this game felt like it had that little extra twist of not just like building, putting whatever you want, but that architect and having it do kind of like a rondel action throughout the game really adds that extra level of strategy. So I liked that it felt different than most other just polyomino tile laying games.
Yeah, because you really have to plan, like, okay, where is my architect? Let me really think about the order of actions that I want to do.
Mm-hmm. And when.
And, well, exactly. It's because if my architect's not in the right position, then it can, like, totally screw up what you're trying to do or what you're thinking of. And you're like,
yes.
This is my last action tile for this round, and my architect is totally in the wrong position.
Yes.
What am I going to do now? Am I going to just try to refill some resources, or do I try to fulfill a worship token or whatever? And it can throw things off.
Something else that I like, I'm going to talk about that later in the cons-ish, but I don't want to like talk, I'm staying positive,
Spoilers.
Okay? Staying positive.
Bringing your negative energy into this positive
space. Hey, you're the one who brought it up. Anyway, so I really like that it feels like there's a good balance between with the action discs, where it's like there's some good spots that you like has a bonus where it's like 2+ strength. You're like, ooh, that could be really good, and I don't have to put out as many discs. Or maybe you can just get points or fulfill a worship tile, etc. So I feel like there's a balance between going first and trying to get those bonuses, and then maybe like going later in that same spot where it's like, oh, there's already 3 discs out there. I just have to put 1 and I can build a building with 4 straight. Super easy. So it feels like a good twist of like, okay, do I try to get that bonus and use more discs, or do I kind of wait and hope that things work out? Like, it's a mind gymnastic game in my head. It's like, okay, that little meme of like the person thinking like all those math equations? That's how I feel when I play this game.
Well, I really like that aspect of the game too. Not necessarily the mind gymnastics, but
because you're like, that's super easy.
The limitation on the actions.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Because it's such a hard choice. You're like, oh, that's a good bonus, but I would need to put 2 or 3, maybe even 4 action
which is scary to
down.
Do.
And if I put 4 down, that's gonna leave me with like 1, and everybody else is gonna take a long time.
Yes.
And it's just like, do I want to finish this round early Is that going to put me at a disadvantage? Like, I love those choices.
So basically what we're trying to say is it's a really good challenge, and we really enjoy that challenge most of the time.
Well, it's not just the challenge, but it's also the choices that you can make. There's so many choices.
That's why it's a challenge. Like, you have ideas, but you got to time it with what you want to do. But yeah, long story short, yeah, it's a good challenge. And then I like that there's variability in this game with the double-sided boards. So if you get used to one certain side, you can flip your board over. Everybody has to be on the same side. But it has a different configuration on the city, so it can kind of change up the game a little bit.
See, I thought you were going to talk about the variability with how you could score points.
Yeah, that too.
You could try to focus on scoring points during the game with the mask tokens.
You can.
And getting bonuses and getting worship tiles and stuff. And maybe at the suffering of your city. Mm-hmm. Or you could focus entirely on your city and not get many points during the game.
True. I feel like the game, you can play it the same way every time if you want to, but I feel like the strategy of things adapt depending on what worship tiles you may be collecting, or, you know, kind of how everybody else is playing their game. And I don't know. There's so many different ways that you can play this, and you have to be able to adapt as you go, because it's like, oh, I'm going to go for this certain thing, but oh, those green things never really came up too much, so okay, I'm going to change my focus on to something else.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about, some of the pieces are limited too.
Yes.
So you only
per
round. So you only have a certain number of, say, buildings that give you resources per round, or temples per round. So if someone takes those temples or those buildings and you're like, man, I really wanted that or needed that.
But there are ways to get them from the general pile, but they're not guaranteed.
There are workarounds,
yeah.
But it could have been like, oh, there's a really good bonus. I could just put down one token and get the piece that I need, but someone else took it. So you have to be flexible, and I like that in the game.
And with the limited buildings that he was mentioning, depending on the player count, there will be more of some of the limited buildings. Like, when you're playing 2 players, there's just one of each building that's on the board. But when you play with 3 or 4, there's like some that may have 2, or I think maybe some that have 3. But it increases for the number of players, which makes sense.
So talking about that, it does scale well. So I felt like it was just as challenging at 2 players as it was at... Did we play 4 or did we only play 3?
I think we only played 3, but 4 plays similar to how 2 does.
Yeah, so it felt just as challenging at 2 players as it did 3. And it didn't feel like 3 players added too much more time than a 2-player game. I thought it scaled well.
It scales well for the number of buildings. I have some cons to talk about the different player counts. Do you have any more pros?
I might think of some later.
Okay. All right, now it's time for Negative Nancy here. So when you play this game, if you're playing 2 or 4 player, there are 4 rounds, so that everybody gets a chance to be the first player. So you either get to be it once or be it twice for 2 and 4 player. 4 and 2 player, whatever. And then 3 player, there are only 3 rounds, so everybody gets a chance to be it once. I don't like the length of the 3-player game. I feel like, you could still do stuff. I feel like there's not enough time. I feel like I like the length of the 2 and 4 player game having 4 rounds. It felt more like I was able to get around the board to kind of do more stuff. Because then in a 3-player game, you don't get to go back somewhere. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's just me, but I wanted 3-player games to be a little longer.
Yes, it was short. It felt like it cut off early, especially compared to a 2-player game. But I think they balanced that out with the amount of action discs you get. So, I'm not saying you weren't, but if you're smart about the amount of actions you take, you can do a lot too.
I know that's true, and I know that it balances with the number of discs that you have, and more people means more stacks of things. I just wish 3-player was longer. I don't know. That's just me.
Fair enough.
Something else, and this is not really against the actual game, and I don't know if it's just because we got a review copy. Oh yeah, this is a review copy, by the way. But the opinions are obviously our own because we're having Negative Nancy here for a second. This didn't come with enough baggies. I don't know, again, if it was just the review copy, but there were like 2 or 3 bags. And you have, I don't even know how many tiles, but there's tons of brown, gold, gray, orange, blue, green, and then other things and different sizes of all those. It's like, okay, I'll just stuff them all in one bag. And
I mean, everything fits into a bag.
if you stuff it, yes.
But it is nice, in my opinion, to have, like, here's a bag for these types of tiles,
Yes.
and be able to separate it out a little more. I think it makes setup a little easier.
Yeah, so I stole some bags from something else, but I wish it had more baggies included, or what I really wish it had was an insert.
I think this game would
Yes.
really benefit with an insert, just for the pure fact that it would be so much easier to set up
And take down.
and take down.
Yep.
And then I think it would make the game just that much easier to get to the table, at least for me.
Absolutely, because I mean, this isn't like a super long game. Like maybe your first game will be kind of long. This is thinky, but it's not really that long of a game. And when you're spending a lot of extra time with the setup and takedown because of all the different sizes and shapes, an insert would be super good. So if you can print inserts, do it for this one, please. So I mean, that's nothing against like the actual game. It's just more baggies or an insert would be cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, and then this isn't necessarily a negative, but just a note for people who get way too into thinking about the game and forget the small details. I kept forgetting to move my architect.
She did.
And I'd be like, oh crap. How long ago was that? Oh shoot, I shouldn't have placed that building over there. Because you're supposed to do it at the end of your turn, and I'm wondering if maybe I should do it at the beginning of my turn. No, because then I'll start planning and I'll be on the wrong side.
Yeah, you'll plan
I
with it
don't
on the
know.
wrong side.
I need to do something to help me remember to move my architect.
Just write a post-it note that says "Move my architect." I don't know.
Architect goes here.
Set a
I don't
reminder
know.
on your phone, like.
But it's because it's something different from other tile laying games where like usually you're just free to build or whatever. And this one, it's like I get so into like, yes, I want to put this green building over here. Oh, my architect's over here. When did I move him last? Oops. So just be aware of that. Don't be like me.
Don't be like, oh, it's been 3 rounds and it's been in the same spot.
I didn't do that. Who does that? Yeah, I know. That was just a bad game. I mean, I did quite well because I could build wherever I wanted, but yeah.
Why did all my buildings end up on this side of the board? I wonder.
Yeah, anyway. So, those are pros and cons to the game. Overall, what are your thoughts about this polyomino tile laying game?
I think this Founders of the T Word is a great game.
Teotihuacan?
Nope, you said it differently.
Teotihuacan?
Said it
Oh
differently.
my gosh, I am saying it differently because you're saying it's Teotihuacan.
Founders of the T game.
Okay. Anyway, your overall thoughts, yes?
I don't know. I was saying something, but I forgot. I think it's great. It's rather puzzly, and I really like that. I think it presents a lot of good choices, and it's, yeah.
Good.
I don't remember what I was gonna say.
I messed him up with trying to say Teotihuacan. Isn't that right?
I don't know. Depends on who you ask.
think
It's
that's-
always different.
I think that's what Ella from Ella Board Game said. Anyway,
How do you know she's right?
because she's Ella. So I think that this game is very original for a tile laying game. I feel like it's kind of a refreshing feel to that genre. And I myself love puzzly games, even if I'm A, bad at them, or B, forget things. I I like how puzzly this is sometimes. It can feel like a struggle, like I'm on the struggle bus with this one sometimes. But it's a great challenge, and I do enjoy it for the most part, even if I get frustrated and forget things. It's good, though. And you probably should have said this at the beginning, but you don't have to have had played the original T game, Teotihuacan, whatever. This is like a prequel, but it's an entirely separate game. You don't have to play the other one at all. You can just play this one. And this is probably an easier one to get to the table than the original one. The T game, City of the Gods. There you go. As Bryce would say. But anyway, we really like it. It's coming to retail within a couple days of this coming out. We'll put a link where you can get the pre-order or be able to purchase it. And we highly recommend it.
Go check it out.
What's it called?
The founders of the tea game.
There's several tea games, though.
This tea game.
All right. I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce, and we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming.
Have fun.
And today we are talking about... Oh, crap. I forgot to practice it.
No, we're not talking about... Oh, crap. We're talking about founders of Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan? Or is it Teotihuacan? Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan. I have to watch a 15-second ad just so I can hear the word.
Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan.
No.
What? Teotihuacan. Haha. Okay. Like you're walking all day. Even if you say it wrong, that's really not how you say it. Yeah.
Not Teotihuacan.
Wakan. Wakanda forever. Oh my gosh, I can't even say it right.
Teotihuacan.
The city of?
The tea game.
The founders of Teotihuacan.